Well, guys, it's confirmed that Chris Evans has quit Top Gear. Now, as we all know, that ever since it was announced that he was going to take the reins of the show, there was so much backlash. So much backlash. He is not very well liked by the country, especially by people who I deal with at work, who watched the previous format, like I did. I watched the previous format with Clarkson, Hammond and May religiously. I've got so many of their DVDs, like their adventure, their great adventures, like from their US special when they were attacked by rednecks, all the way up to their Patagonia special. I've got all their adventures. I've loved every single one, and I still watch them to this day religiously. I mean, I've even got right now on my DVD playing right now, I've got Clarkson and May's worst car in the history of the world DVD. So, whether the BBC is going to release DVDs of the current series, if they do, they do. And if they do, I highly doubt they're going to get high sales. Maybe not even a single sale. That's how much hatred that the current series has had. I'm like, as I said, I've got nothing against Chris Evans, nothing against him. He's obviously very good at what he does because everything he's got, he's earned. He's a multi-millionaire and stuff like that. I'm a fan of Matt LeBlanc, obviously, because that's the only thing I've watched him in was Friends, and he's set to take the reins for the next series. But considering how each and every week the views were in decline, and when it came back, they were hoping to get 5 million views. Now, I've got the list right with me, because I just want to make sure I get this right. They didn't get the 5. They didn't get the 5 million they hoped for. They got 4.4 million. Then they got 2.8, 2.4, 2.3, and then in episode 5 they got 2.7. Obviously, is not much of an increase, but an increase anyway. But then, last Sunday, in the last episode of the series, they had 1.9 million people. 1.9. Now, what I'll say is, like, because I did not watch the last 2 episodes because I didn't love it and I didn't enjoy it as much as I did with the previous 3. I just didn't feel like I wanted to. I didn't want to watch them, and like, obviously all these new hosts. I mean, the two guys. It's like, I can't even remember the 2 guys who were really introduced in the last 3 episodes of the series, like who host their Extra Gear. I have to say, what a shit name, Extra Gear. Christ, because the BBC are really trying to scrape the bottom of the barrel, trying to keep Top Gear alive. But to be honest, they might as well let it die. Might as well let it die now. To be honest, I think they should. They really should let it die. Because Sabine Schmitz, I think she's good. I like her. I mean, like, she's good looking. She's a racer and all that. Obviously, with her being a fantastic driver, I just think because she outshines Evans and LeBlanc, obviously. But there is just one episode. I think it was the 3rd episode in the series that it's just one of the most unfunniest things I've ever seen. Is that when Sabine Schmitz was maybe supposed to be introduced in the stick and she was talking in German. Obviously, that was the whole point. But it's like you just see the little faces on the audience. They're just like, what the fuck is going on here? And then it's like the fake laughter that Sabine and Matt did. It was not funny at all. It was terrible. I wasn't entertained by that. I was like, what the fuck is this? I mean, but as I said, there's really the only there's only really two things I actually enjoyed this series. Just two things I actually properly enjoyed. It was like when they started off the first episode with that Dodge Viper. I love American cars. Love them. And then when they brought in, when Evans was driving it in the new McLaren with Jenson Button. That was it. Two segments I actually properly liked. That's it. Apart from everything else, it was just there. I mean, like, because they tried to do this sort of race, like with Sabine, Chris buying buying cars. It was like Evans was in the Jag. Obviously, that's a beautiful Jag. Sabine was in an Audi. Matt bought a motorbike. We obviously didn't really get the concept. And they were racing Eddie Jordan, who was on a luxury train, who was going to be on there for 2 days. And to be honest, because it wasn't the same, I can't remember where they were going. All I know, it was a 2-day trip. That's all I remember. And with Eddie Jordan winning, that's it. I was like, because when it was the other three, when it was like Clarkson racing Hammond and May, when Clarkson was in the car, Hammond and May were, on the other forms of transport, like boat, train, plane. That was exciting. But this time around, it just wasn't exciting. It was just there. It was just there. I mean, so obviously they might have to try and think of something to try and get views in, but it just didn't work. I'm sorry. I think the BBC should let Top Gear die. Because Clarkson, Hammond and May, they will not come back. Even if... I mean, if the BBC asked them to come back, I don't think they will. So they should let it die. I mean, because then, to be honest, and if they want to try and release DVDs or something like that, don't release any Top Gear DVDs, with the current guys. Don't do that, because they won't make any sales. I mean, right, the latest Top Gear DVD I bought was the greatest hits. Let's say, for example, when the guys did a 24-hour race at Silverstone, for example. I think they should release Greatest Hits 2, because there's so much more I want to watch from those three. Like when they tried to make ambulances. Clarkson bought a Porsche and tried to make that into an ambulance. One of the funniest things I've ever seen. I just hope BBC will make a release. A second Greatest Hits DVD with Clarkson, Hammond and May. Don't release any DVDs with Eddie Jordan, Chris Evans, Matt LeBlanc, Sabine Schmitz, and the other two. You won't make many sales, or you won't make any sales. So that's my thoughts. And obviously Chris Evans saying that he did the best he could. But to be honest, I will say I was surprised that he did quit. Because it was, rumours going around that he was facing the axe. Because so many people don't want him there. If he got fired, if the BBC did fire him from Top Gear, that most probably would be why. Because no one wanted him there. So I'll just say my final thoughts. I was surprised to see that he was going to quit. I didn't think he was going to, because he was saying how much he wanted to do it. There's all these behind the scenes stories on how much of a bully that he is. That he's a loudmouth. Apparently, Matt LeBlanc was threatening to quit himself if Chris didn't go. So, if there is a new series next year, once again I'll check it out. But once again, I'm just not going to be looking forward to it the way I used to. And if anyone out there who's watched the series, when you put a comment below on what you think about Chris Evans quitting. Yeah, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Take care of yourselves.